Why are so many of the conservative old guard so unhappy about Donald Trump's election win? Now, when I say conservative, of course I don't mean LARPers like Rory Stewart. He hasn't got a conservative bone in his body. He's a very confused liberal and he's symbolic of everything wrong with the modern Tory party. What I'm talking to are the senior conservatives quoted here in The Guardian who are warning Kemi Badenoch not to fall into the populist trap of backing Trump. And what trap would that be then? The trap that leads you to winning the race to lead the biggest and most powerful country in the world. But let's remember The Guardian could just be making this up as they won't name who these conservative ministers are, but one of them is quoted as saying we need to think carefully about the fact that we lost the election to the left, we didn't lose the election to the right, we lost seats to Lib Dems and Labour. Now this is such a stupid, asinine take, it's hard to believe it's real, but this is how the Westminster-type Tories think. Anybody on the ground can see they didn't lose to the Lib Dems and the Labour Party, they just won by default. The Tory vote collapsed because millions of people went to reform and millions more didn't bother to vote because the party's become too liberal and left-wing. Yet the Tory elites of London do not see that. They live in a world of Guardianistas and BBC journalists and so on. This is why people who've been embedded in that system for decades, such as William Hague, state Trump is a danger and we need him to lose. Why is he a danger? He loves our country and has many points that millions of people across the UK, especially conservative-minded people, are very sympathetic towards. And then right on cue, here's Peter Hitchens. He says we shouldn't be smug about Trump. At this rate, we'll have our own pound shop demagogue. Now, as I've said before, much of the work Peter Hitchens has put out there is seminal. He was one of the first to note the severe decline of Britain, starting with Blair, and even before that. He also comes out with some gems and insights that not many people are capable of. However, if you watch him over time, you'll see he is the most negative person when anything ever happens on the right. It was the same with Reform and now it's the same with Donald Trump. And let's be honest, neither of those are perfect to everybody, but if we never back anything, we're never going to get anywhere. As I've said before, I'm a traditionalist and I don't really see Donald Trump as a traditionalist, not even a conservative, but I'd still vote for him because he's easily the best thing on the ballot. I've also never seen Donald Trump mention anything to do with demographic decline, the biggest issue the Western world faces, but at least he's shown that you can win on a deportation platform, at least he's shown you can win with an anti-globalist message. That should give us confidence. And that's the big lesson from this US election. Donald Trump, whether you like him or loathe him, has managed to unite disparate elements of the right, the hard right, the soft right, the libertarian centre, and the floating voters. It's that cohesion that we're missing in the present UK. When you look at the hard right, there are 4 or 5 different parties. The Civ Nats have about 5 or 6 different movements. You have the mainline Tories, you have Reform, and then you have the classic libertarians that are hardly represented as well. Now, I know many of these movements have strong disagreements on certain issues, but if there could be one major figure who could come along and unite them on what they agree on, they could bring the fight to the globalist liberalist hegemony. As I speak a lot of on this channel, such a movement needs to be bigger than simple elections. It needs to be a cultural, spiritual and political revolution. That movement could have a left, a centre and a right wing of its own, and once it can unite to conquer liberalism, it can argue out its differences. The only question is, who could that figure be? If history's anything to go by, cometh the hour, cometh the man. As my channel descriptor says, legend says that King Arthur will return, Excalibur in hand, when the British need him most. Anyway, let me know what you think down below and do consider subscribing to the channel if you're new.